Today we switching it up. We got some doppelganger story. Doppelganger. I feel like I said that wrong. We got some doppelganger. How you say it? Doppelganger. All right, I talk fast. So yeah, we got some of them stories. If you are interested, curious, and if you like it, give this video a thumbs up. Leave anything in a comment, a chicken, leave the twins, because you know doppelganger is supposed to be your twin. Maybe the evil one, or maybe you the evil one. Let me stop rambling. Let's get into this first story. My husband saw my doppelganger in the hallway last night. We live in an old farmhouse and we have many paranormal unexplained spirits, noises, etc. We have even had paranormal investigators come into our house. We're now waiting on a report from them as we speak. But last night, I was in the bathtub. My husband came in to wash his hands. He went back out and then started laundry. He was in the laundry room when he then looked through the kitchen and saw what he thought was me in the hallway, buck naked. He proceeded to call my name, and he said she turned her face and gave him a look as if she didn't know who he was. Then she walked into the hallway, and our son came out of his room from the opposite way. Our son then asked my husband who he was talking to and said that he didn't see me. My husband came into the bathroom while I was still in the tub. He made me swear that I hadn't left the tub. He was very freaked out. For the rest of the night, as we entered and exited rooms, we had to announce ourselves before going in. He had spoken to a medium a few months ago. She is coming on Saturday to bless our home. She said that she would try to see what spirits were there and release them. She also told us to place black salt in our doorways in the four corners of our home. Has anyone else ever seen the doppelganger? I was 18 years old dating my then boyfriend. He saw my doppelganger twice. The first time I was hanging out at his house and I left when it was dark outside. I woke up in the morning to a text, "Where did you go last night?" I immediately called him and asked him what he was talking about because he walked me out to my car when I left the night prior. He then said he woke up only to see me naked on the floor. He said that I looked around not noticing him and said, "How did I get here?" I even hit my foot on his rocking chair on the way out. He said that he thought it really happened because the chair was still there moving when I walked out the room. He ran into the hallway after me but just thought I wanted to sleep in the spare room up there, so he let me be. The next time an incident had happened, we were studying for school. He turned around and said he saw me sleeping in his bed. When he turned back to study, he remembered that I had left earlier that day. When he went to turn back around, he said that I was gone. This is kind of a doppelganger story, but it could also be a coincidence. So about 3 years ago, I was at the dentist and I saw a woman who looked exactly the same as my grandmother. My grandmother had died about 3 years before that. She was the same height and wore the same type of clothes, a nice t-shirt with a shawl. She also kept a tissue up her sleeve, which is also what this woman had. So that same day we were walking down the street and I saw her again. It might have been a bit rude because I missed my grandma, but I just kept staring. I didn't say anything to her, I stayed silent. Sorry if this is not weird enough, but a friend told me if a person looks like someone who has since passed on, you may have seen a ghost. That was definitely a ghost. When I was 14, I saw my father's doppelganger. Our house is situated near the woods, and there's also a lot of unexplained events that my family experienced while living in that house. I was following my father from our backyard to our front yard, and I was 3 meters apart from him. We have a hut just beside our house, and I thought that he went inside of there. So when I'm about to enter the hut, I saw him in the backyard, which I could have sworn I seen him in front of me. From behind me, he then asked me where I was going because he saw me about to go into the hut. I stood dead in my tracks, shocked, not knowing what to say. When I was 6 in 1992, I was playing with Legos in my basement, and my sister came downstairs and asked me if I wanted to play. So we started playing. Soon after, we proceeded to play hide and seek, and I had just the perfect place in mind. There was a spot in my basement my dad was renovating. He had a piece of drywall on the hinge replacing a door. The door separated the area from the rest of the basement, so I hid there. Next thing I know, my dad came in, and it was a couple hours later apparently. I had gone missing and they searched everywhere for me, but I was only hiding from my sister for about 2 minutes or so. So when he asked me what I was doing there, I told him I was just hiding from my sister. But you see, the problem with that is my sister hadn't been home all day. She had been out with friends. My dad then proceeded to tell me that my sister was not home and just assumed that my imagination got the best of me. We later found out that the basement was haunted by something malevolent. And after a few years of strange occurrences happening over and over again, the previous owner came to the house and asked to see the basement. and kind of freaked out when he saw what my dad did to it. Shortly after that, my parents found a newspaper clipping with obituary dates. They were stuffed under the floorboards, only to be discovered as my dad continued renovating the basement. A lot of odd things happened in that basement over the years. Not sure if this one counts, but I was waiting for my girlfriend to call me on her way home from work one day. I was home alone aside from my dog. I went downstairs to our basement for a drink. As I'm filling up my glass, I heard my bedroom door creak open and close. This door is loud and obnoxious, and it's fairly difficult to open and close due to the fact that the door frame is busted. There's a trick you have to do. So I start listening closely. Then I hear a muffled voice and footsteps coming down the hallway to the top of the stairs. It sounds just like my girlfriend came out of the room and she was talking on the phone to someone. The same tone of voice and everything. This happened just for a few seconds and then suddenly it stopped. Both my dog and I heard the same thing, and I could tell by his reaction. He thought it was my girlfriend too. We both stopped and stood there silently to see if anyone would come down the stairs. I finally yelled up the stairs, "Babe!" But there was no answer, no movement, no nothing. I then proceeded back up the stairs and did a sweep of the whole house to see if she was actually home. I was indeed alone, and there was nothing or no one there. A lot of small weird things would happen like that frequently, but this was the first time that something like this happened. I was living with my then boyfriend, now husband, at his family home, and he was waiting for me outside. I was making my way from our room to the front door, and I see his mom sweeping the floor. She then stops and watches me walk past. I tell her hi and that I'm leaving, but I'll be right back. She didn't answer me. But I didn't think it was weird or anything because she's not much of a talker. As I joined my boyfriend outside, I saw his mom's car was actually gone. I figured that his stepdad had went out somewhere and asked when his stepdad would be back. He tells me that his stepdad is in the house and that my mom already left for work. I told him no, she didn't leave. I just seen her in the kitchen sweeping. I ran quick to the screen door to take a look inside of the house, and there was no one there. No one in the living room or the kitchen, but I was sure I just walked past his mom seconds ago. I have a story. It happened in January of this year. My brother was in the hospital and I had gone to stay with him for the night. We were both in the hospital. He was sleeping. When I got a call from my mother and she seemed a little concerned, she asked me if I had sent a video of me in a pink surgical mask waving at her. I told her no because I had done no such thing. It turns out my mother and father were both looking at my father's phone, and on the phone they both saw a video of me and then it disappeared and they couldn't find it again. It's pretty safe to say that I was freaked out, and I later talked to them about it. They confirmed that it was me they saw in the short video clip, but I knew that it wasn't. I even went through her phone to find any trace of the video, but I could not find it. I am interested in doppelgangers and where they come from. If anyone knows, please give me information on it. Thanks. This event took place years ago when I was in middle school. My dad was at work around this time. He worked in a mechanic shop. Walking past my dad's shop on the way home from school was a normal occurrence. So one day, he swears he saw me walking by with friends he had never seen before. He said he yelled and waved at me trying to get my attention, and I allegedly turned around and I didn't even acknowledge him. Later that day, he told my mom, and then they both came to me and asked me about it. They asked me if the reason I didn't wave back is because I was embarrassed or something, to which I asked, "What are you talking about?" He then told me what happened, and I followed up by letting him know I didn't walk home that day, I rode the bus. And then they just left it at that and never brought it up again. I'm still confused about the situation till this day. If it wasn't me, then who was it? My mom saw a doppelganger of me in our house one morning a few years ago. She woke up and went to the kitchen to do her own thing and saw me near the kitchen. She thought nothing of it and went back upstairs. As she walked by my room, she said she saw me still curled up in my bed. I had snoozing my alarm that morning, so I hadn't woke up yet. Then there was another time my friend said they saw a doppelganger of me at school. It was PE, and a lot of people were sweaty and hungry, so I went to the cafeteria to grab something to eat. When I got back to my class, my friend was surprised. She said a short while ago she saw me in the gym still in my PE uniform. But that couldn't have been because I was in the cafeteria. Another friend even confirmed that I was in the cafeteria. She kept trying to get a photo of me for a few days after. Now that I think about it, she was probably trying to make sure I was real. But then again, our school is very old and many people have reported sightings and interactions with other things. So I'm not exactly surprised. I have a doppelganger story from a few years back. It's of my nephew. So this was the day my niece gave birth. I was sitting on the living room floor with the newborn, and I had been talking to my mom on and off about my niece. She ends up going to her room, and as I was sitting there, I hear the bathroom door open. I look up and my nephew walks by, straight from the bathroom into the kitchen. I smiled and waved at him, but he just looked back at me and kept walking. It was a few days before I found out he was actually never even there. He had been at college at a state football game. Hearing that news freaked me out. We had been experiencing a ton of other stuff too. So from there on out, my husband started praying any chance he could. Within about 2 weeks, I started noticing things had died down, or I quit paying attention to it, not sure which one. Now, a little over 3 years, something new is here, or whatever was here back then is back. Whatever it is, it likes to imitate our voices and call on us. Ain't no doppelganger. Ain't no doppelganger. When I was in middle school, I went over to my friend's apartment. She lived with her mom. Her mom was cool and she let us party there. She was always at work, working long and late hours. Fast forward, there was a group of us there, maybe 6 people or so. Everyone was in the living room except for this one couple. They had made their way to my friend's mom's bedroom with the lights off and doors closed. We didn't care to check on them because we were all pretty baked. I had made myself a snack and we were all walking to my friend's bedroom. Right as we passed the mom's room, out the corner of my eye, I saw the door open from the inside, and I saw a partial face. It looked identical to my friend's mom. I saw the head and the eyes. I didn't think anything of this since there were so many people in this small apartment. I kept walking and I sat down inside of my friend's room. A minute later, the friend who had been screwing around in my friend's mom's bedroom came into her room yelling at me, asking why I had kicked the door wide open. I told her I didn't. I saw someone come out of the room but didn't pay it any mind. She was adamant that it was me that walked by and kicked the door wide open. The more I thought about it, the weirder it was. I thought she was the one messing with me, but I swear the person that I saw in the room crack the door open didn't look like anyone at the party. It looked so much like my friend's mom. So that would have meant that her mom would have had to snuck back in the apartment somehow after being gone for hours, hide in her room in the dark for over an hour while this couple was messing around in her bed. And then she would have had to have discreetly left while I was passing her room, gone out the front door with a living room full of our friends without anyone seeing her. I always thought maybe it was a ghost, but now I'm convinced it was a doppelganger. Shortly after that experience, I stopped hanging out over there. I don't know if anything else weird happened like that again, and I didn't stick around to find out. I remember this one time when 2 friends and I went to go stay the night at a haunted hotel, the Congress Plaza in Chicago. I slept in one bed and they slept in the other one together. In the morning, we asked if anyone had experienced anything weird. One of my friends was being really quiet and said it was probably just a dream. I'm not sure. It had to be a dream, right? They were acting like they didn't want to say what they saw. So after some convincing, she finally told us. She said when she woke up in the middle of the night, she saw me standing next to the wall across the room in the dark. She said she sat up and said my name and asked me what I was doing. When I didn't respond, she then looked over at my bed, and there she saw me sleeping. When she looked back across the room where I was standing, she said that I was gone. I have no idea what all of this is supposed to mean. All I do know is that the Congress Plaza Hotel in Chicago got me effed up. Now what the hotel do? My freshman year of college, I had a couple of friends inform me that there was a couple of girls who looked exactly like me, and that they also had similar mannerisms as me too. Now, I didn't quite believe them when they told me. I thought they were exaggerating a bit. Fast forward to the next year, I had a friend ask me about my new boyfriend. At the time, I want to note that I was very much definitely single. So then I proceed to ask her what she was talking about, and she swears she saw me walking up the stairs holding hands with some guy. Not even 2 weeks later, I'm hanging out at a restaurant and the waitress starts talking to me like we're old friends. I didn't know what to say or do, so I embarrassingly asked her how we knew each other again. She proceeded to ask me how drunk I was. I then took out my ID and slid it to her to prove that I'm not even 21. She acted super freaked out and then tells me that is so weird because whoever she met a few days ago acted exactly like me and had similar mannerisms. By this point, I'm still skeptical, but I'm starting to believe. Too many coincidences for this to be a fluke. What finally made me realize that this might be real is when I saw a girl fall on some ice. I rushed over to help her, and when I got there, we looked at each other. We both go wide-eyed and freeze. She looked exactly like my close friend, and I assume I looked exactly like hers. We went our separate ways without talking or anything. I never did meet my doppelganger. I haven't heard anything about her in years, but I hope her life is going well. I switched to a new school in the 5th grade and people started asking me about my twin. I didn't have a twin. It turns out there was a girl in the 6th grade that looked identical to me. Our parents couldn't even tell us apart. We even kind of had the same name. We were friends for a while, but then went our separate ways when she moved on to junior high. But wait, time passes and I move all over the US. Eventually, I end up in a state adjacent to where I grew up in, Arizona. After growing up in California, that's where priced out Californians move. About 2 years into Arizona, and I start having people like store clerks comment on having talked to me earlier that day. Creepiest was when I got on the bus, and about a stop earlier than usual, the bus driver says, "Wait, you just got off a stop ago." And I hadn't. I was wearing a very distinctive outfit too. So this incident happened on my last trip to the mall before I moved to the opposite coast. I bought a leather jacket at a store that I never shopped at. The clerk asked me if I wanted to open a credit card account, saying that she knows I like their clothes and I shop there frequently. I had been to that mall about twice in the 2 years that I had lived there. So I think my hometown twin also relocated to Arizona, and we must have had some of the same style choices. I didn't try to seriously look her up because a part of me didn't want to research her, find her, and find out that she wasn't the one that moved there. It kind of sounds like everybody that had, well, not everybody, most of the people that had these doppelganger experiences chalk them up to paranormal experiences because they say that they had previously had other like type of occurrences around them or in their house. And I think that it could still be a doppelganger. It could be maybe a little bit of both, but no one knows a lot about doppelgangers. How do you know that they don't have like paranormal activities, you know? I like these stories. I like the doppelganger series. If y'all like the series, make sure y'all give this video a thumbs up and please leave a comment. What else? Subscribe. Make sure you subscribe because I do more than just stories like these. I do story times. Check them out if you want to. I feel like story times show more of my personality. Yeah, because I'm not just reading stories. But anyway, y'all, I appreciate y'all for watching and I love y'all so much. I'm nothing without y'all, okay? Share the videos because that helped too. I really appreciate it. I really do. Y'all know the vibes. That's pretty much it for this one, but you know I'm gonna see you in the next one. Bye.
Ooh, jump scare.